YouTube, Bearded Bristol here with a little weekend philosophy. Taking a little Sunday morning drive. I apologize for the exposure. Just happens to be that early morning light, but hopefully there's something interesting going on in the background. Probably not, it's Nebraska. I had to make a 35-mile run this morning to get 7 loaves of Swedish rye bread. My life is a complicated one. And now I'm just enjoying a nice cruise back home. No major plans for the day, which really pretty much kicks butt, but that's how I try to arrange my Sundays. But have you ever stopped to think about how stubborn and resistant to change we are as a species? This is one of those things that, you know, there's a specific reason I bring this up, and we'll get to that later. But, you know, I am one of the worst about change. You know, I just told you I try to arrange my Sundays so I don't have to do a lot because I am a creature of habit. I know that the work week starts tomorrow, and thus meetings and all of that other fun stuff. So I like to take my Sundays to relax and re-energize, rejuvenate, and most of my friends know, don't mess with my Sundays. You know, I will occasionally deviate from the chosen path, but generally speaking, you know, I like to sit at home and watch movies, maybe read, smoke a pipe, you know, do those types of things close to home. But that said, you know, there's so few things in life that we actually accept naturally as change. For instance, you know, we love getting a new car. You know, there's very few people, despite the fact that the technology makes leaps and bounds in between oftentimes, there's very few people who will push against getting a new car if they have the means to do so. But when it comes to learning new apps, new software, new phones, we absolutely rail against that sort of change. And, you know, that goes through many, many facets in our lives. And it's funny because the old maxim is the only constant is change. You know, there's not a second that goes by that life isn't changing around us, whether it's our hair growing, our clothes getting wrinkled. You know, time passes by, and with each passing second comes change, right? But yet we fight and fight against this because we have settled, I think, you know, we have settled into a place internally in our minds where we believe things are constant around us. And, you know, it's just very interesting to me how stubborn we can be about making those changes. And I'm willing to bet most of the people that are doing YouTube videos, a great many of us anyway, were not a fan of YouTube when it came out. You know, why do you want to document everything and put it online? Why do you this? Why do you that? What? Yet here we are. Something inside of us, you know, made us want to do these videos and or just engage in them. So we had to make that type of change, and it wasn't easy for a lot of us. But that, you know, that said, where I was really going with this, well, let me back up just one second, because very few, you know, for as stubborn as we are as a people, as a species, we're incredibly resilient and adapt very quickly to change. And, you know, it's interesting to pair those two things side by side. You know, the attitude of not wanting to change paired with the ability to accept it and move on very quickly. That said, one of the reasons I was bringing this up is we have you know, every 6 weeks or so, especially in the current climate, there is a hot button issue that meets social media, and all of the social media warriors of whatever ilk come out with guns blazing. And it does not matter which side of a political spectrum or issue-related spectrum you are on, you likely have an opinion too, whether you voice it or not. But you will see these people that come out largely ill-informed, or a great many of them anyway, and will just continue to spout off their beliefs as though they are the only ones that could possibly be right. And again, this is regardless of what side of an issue it is. But there is an unwillingness to listen and to accept and just generally to learn about things, because we, or some of us, believe that we already know it all. And I choose to stay off the battlefields of social media because I understand intuitively that no minds are going to change through that platform, or at least a very, very, very small percentage of them. So I like to sit back with my popcorn and just laugh at what's going on. And there are times I would like to weigh in and express my level of knowledge, whatever that may be. But again, it's futile to do so. It generally just gets each of us riled up in our own ways over the fact that the other people that we're trying to sway are so utterly stupid. And I'm not trying to make anybody feel foolish or make myself sound like I'm smarter than I am. Just pointing out that we take to these mediums with our knowledge, supposed knowledge, and we just start talking. And, there's very few that actually educate themselves on the issues or the history behind a particular issue. They just want to espouse, their opinion and can't understand why you are so narrow as to not conform to what they believe. And it's been going on, I'm sure, for centuries this way. It's just a new battlefield in terms of social media. It used to be we were not to talk politics and religion in bars, and I now find that talking politics in a bar is one of the most refreshing things because you actually have a chance to dialogue with somebody instead of just posting and waiting for a response, or better yet, hoping there is none, because then in our own minds we have won that battle. But I think where I'm going with this, because it started with change, right? I think I do know where I'm going. It's a long and winding road, and that's not the one I'm driving on. This one's just straight. But I should have stocked my pipe better before we started. When it comes to politics, there is an unwavering stubbornness about us. And I guess it doesn't even have to be politics. Environmental issues, which loosely align to political, beliefs. But we refuse to change our minds. I mean, flat out. I would suspect the number of people, the percentage of people who change their minds on a given political issue is, 8%, 10%. It's very narrow. We already have at the very outset a preconceived construct of things that surround that issue that we just start to categorize, and automatically, whatever that issue is falls in line or against the lines of what we believe without us having to do much research. And because of that, we continue to formulate these walls and these barriers of, this belief system where we feel we don't have to educate ourselves because we know the political opposition, or we already know what those people are like, and we don't want to be aligned with those people, whatever it is. Right now it's the current tax bill. And again, I'm not espousing a particular side to this. I am just pointing out that we get so ingrained in what we believe, and I think it boils back to that ultimate resistance to change. The whole idea that if we had to change, that would shake some of us to the very core on a political issue, because we get these beliefs from our parents or from teachers or from friends that we respect, and we continue to build on those. We even go so far as to surround ourselves with people that think like us so that those beliefs aren't challenged. And then you have a situation where an issue may come up that is just on the fringe enough that you could actually be wrong. But if you were wrong on that issue, doesn't that mean you could be wrong on a lot of other issues too? And that would be a really scary place for a lot of us to be if we actually had to rethink our entire fundamental structure of beliefs. And I was thinking about this as it relates to The Matrix, the Keanu Reeves movie trilogy from years back. When Neo first gets unplugged from the Matrix and they're trying to explain to him what's going on, you can see in his eyes the fear, the bewilderment, and ultimately the stubbornness in his psyche that says, no, that can't be right. This cannot possibly be true, because that would mean everything that I thought I knew was wrong. And it's just, that's where some of us have grown our roots and our beliefs to be, that if that top domino falls, whatever it is, that could fundamentally change the structure of everything that we believe all the way down the line. And a lot of us are so scared of being in that position that instead we will take almost, insane measures to make sure that we continue to believe what we believe. And that's I don't know that that's a healthy place to be, but I tell you what, it's where most of us spend most of our lives. And you can go back to the days of heliocentrism, the days of mono and polytheism, where there were multiple Greek gods, and there just had to be, because that's how we explained life around us. And over the centuries, those things have changed, and I think now, in our current world, state of the world, state of American politics, and even in some cases, European and world politics, we're having to address and face some very serious issues. And somebody's got to be wrong. And it ain't going to be me, right? What I believe can't possibly be wrong. I've thought this for so long, I've thought through it. Who knows? Again, this is not the platform where I'm trying to convince anybody to believe what I believe, but it is an opportunity for me to say, you know what? Maybe just open your minds a little bit to the possibility that even you, yes, you, could be wrong. I face some challenges myself in terms of where my beliefs stand on specific issues, but again, here we are, a species who fears change, but once change is made, adapts to it very quickly. It's a unique place to be, and I think it's something that we all need to account in our heads and say, if I am wrong, okay, fine, I'm going to open myself up to the possibility that my fundamental core belief structure could be wrong, because we adapt to change very quickly. So almost as soon as I would accept such a challenge to myself, my brain would already start to rewrite, based on the fact that I believed I was wrong, would start to rewrite those rules in my head, so that over a very short period of time, we would be able to see the other side. And this is much how cults work, and the whole notion of brainwashing, in that, once that first domino falls, the rest of them can go very quickly and be rewritten. And it's weird that I just tied brainwashing into that. That was really not the intention, but it is, that is how that works. So anyway, I am coming back into town. I don't want to bore you any further, but the idea of change, as scary as it is, has very rarely taken us a long period of time to deal with. So maybe next time there is a political issue, a world issue, a social or family issue, maybe just accept the possibility that each of us could be wrong in our beliefs. If you're not, you're not, man. Stay the course. But if we don't open ourselves up to possibilities, we're going to find it awfully hard to get along as a people, as a community, as a family, in any larger sense. All right, I pulled over, refilled my pipe because I wasn't quite done talking yet when I realized that I didn't have anything left to smoke. Anyway, talking about change and all that, there is a fantastic video out there. I ran across it as one of the TEDx talks, but this woman's name is Mel Robbins, and she does what she calls the 5-second rule. And it's an absolutely fascinating video. And again, I apologize for all the goofy contrast. You're talking to Darth Vader or something today, I guess. Anyway, this 5-second video, the nuts and bolts of it amount to that you have about 5 seconds to make a conscious decision of whether or not to make a change. And once that 5 seconds has passed, you've already run back into the same neural pathways, neural net kind of thing that makes the decision for you. So it just kind of an interesting look at it. She's also very funny and a little bit vulgar, so that makes it all the more entertaining. But yeah, it's a great video. Mel Robbins, TEDx talk. I'll see if I can remember to put that down below here. But we are stubbornly resistant to change, and even though that could end up ultimately being fairly detrimental to what we do and who we are, change in my life has very rarely been for the negative, and even when it has been, it very quickly can be made into a positive. But we just have to be adventurous enough to seek those things out and be willing and open in our hearts and in our heads to accept the fact that we could very well be wrong with some things that we have fundamentally believed for a very, very long time. Now, on another note, I believe this is my 44th or 45th weekend philosophy video. And I had told myself kind of from the beginning that I would do this style of thing for about a year, and then we'd just see what happens. So I'm about to have to figure out something new and do a little changing of my own. How about that? I'm not sure what that looks like. I will still do stuff like this, I'm sure, on occasion, but as far as making it a weekly thing, I think that'll probably go by the wayside. But I've got some other ideas if I'm not too resistant to change. See what I did there? Hopefully you're not too resistant to change either, because it's a-coming. At least as it relates to this channel. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. I'm about 6 blocks from home. Going to, as I said, go back to my normal Sunday routine of non-deviation from the norm. Got a couple of movies I'm going to have in while I do some cleaning around the library. Not sure what the pipe lineup looks like for this afternoon. I'll figure that out when I get home, but it's going to be enjoyable and relaxing. So, no matter who you are or where you are, I hope you're having a great weekend. Have a great week ahead. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care.